What's going on, guys? Zambano here. Today we're going to preview the Dolphins and Rams matchup for Week 11 here of the 2016 NFL season. This game is going to be the debut of Jared Goff, the number one overall pick out of Cal, the quarterback for the LA Rams. So I think the big question going into this game that the national media is going to be covering and talking about all this week and next week is Jared Goff ready to start? The Rams have seemed pressured to put him on the field. I don't think Jeff Fisher actually wanted Jared Goff to be playing quite yet. I think he's feeling the pressure from both probably his ownership and the fans to play Goff. It seemed like going into Monday, he didn't still want to play him, but overnight, I guess on Tuesday, he felt he was ready to play. I don't know what changed in the locker room, on the practice field, or in Fisher's mind to make Goff the starter, but it is time to put him out there on the field for him. I'm kind of shocked that they're making this decision after a win. They just beat the Jets 9-6 this past weekend. Typically, you'd see a quarterback change come off of a loss instead of a win. I know it was a low-scoring game that wasn't really an impressive win by any means for the Rams, but maybe they feel that if they can put together a string of wins here towards the end of the season, they can still be in the playoff chase, and they figured it was time to make a change. This Rams team does not score a whole lot. They are actually last in the league in points per game with only 15, so like I said, that could be a big reason why they are deciding to go with Jared Goff now, because they're a little worried about the fact that they aren't scoring a lot of points, and you do need to be able to outscore the other team, believe it or not, to win games in the National Football League, and 15 points per game is not going to be getting the job done for a playoff caliber team. So I look at the stats here to see what jumps out at me. The Rams have allowed 23 sacks on the season, which actually ranks them for the 10th most sacks allowed. So Jared Goff better be ready to see some pressure coming at him, especially from a defensive line of the Miami Dolphins that features Ndamukong Suh and Cameron Wake, and potentially could have Mario Williams. He's nursing an injury right now. We'll see if he's going to play on Sunday. If he does, that's another guy who can bring pressure and make Goff maybe have to get rid of the ball earlier than he is used to. So the Rams are going to need to protect Goff because he's probably going to be prone to making some rookie mistakes, especially here in his debut. They said earlier today that they're not going to scale back the offensive playbook whatsoever for Goff. They're going to use the same things they were using when Case Keenum was out there on the field, so expect a full offense and nothing too bread and butter just for Jared Goff. The Rams are only converting less than 38% of their third downs. Miami is second best third down defense in the league, so that's a big thing to look at here in this game. Will the Rams be able to move the chains on the most important down in the NFL, third down? Miami is very good at getting off the field and giving the ball back to their offense, but the Rams are going to have to keep moving the chains in order to keep drives alive and win this game. Like I said, they don't score a whole lot of points, so it's going to be an interesting matchup to see whether or not this Dolphins team is going to create a lot of 3-and-outs against the Rams offense. The Rams have a -3 turnover ratio, so they've turned the ball over 3 more times than they have earned turnovers on defense. The Dolphins actually have an even turnover ratio. This last game against the Chargers, where they had 4 fourth-quarter interceptions on Phillip Rivers, brought them to an even ratio for the season. The Rams are actually only averaging 83 rushing yards per game this season. With Todd Gurley, that's kind of surprising, but that goes to show how weak of an offensive line unit they currently have. They're 10th in the league allowing sacks. They're only averaging 83 rushing yards per game. That's not very good. So we'll see if they're going to be able to get the run game going this week with Todd Gurley. The good thing for them is the Miami Dolphins are actually giving up about 129 rushing yards per game. That's not good. This could very well be Todd Gurley's breakout game for this season, where he finally passes the 100-yard rushing mark. Again, he hasn't done so since last season. This could be his big game against this Dolphins defense. But the Rams are allowing 103 rushing yards per game, which is kind of high for a team that has arguably the best defensive tackle in the NFL in Aaron Donald. We'll see if Jay Ajayi can continue to have his impressive season go forward, get more rushing yards, and become one of the leading rushers in the league. Right now, he's on pace to get 1,000 yards, and he didn't even show up to the first game because he was left behind when Miami traveled to Seattle. Adam Gase didn't think he was ready to play, and they left him behind. He didn't start for several games. After Arian Foster got hurt, they decided to put Ajayi in, and then everyone knows about his 200-yard games that he had back-to-back once he did become the starter. That's a lot of credit to Adam Gase. He did change his scheme around to make this more of a power running team instead of a pass-heavy finesse team. So that is a credit to Gase. But the thing for the Dolphins that we need to look forward to in this game, there's a possibility they'll be without 2 of their Pro Bowler offensive linemen. They're already going to be without Brandon Albert. He had wrist surgery this past week, so he is not going to be playing. He is their starting left tackle. Laramie Tunsil will slide from the left guard position to the left tackle position and fill in for Albert there. So we'll see if he's going to be able to provide as much support in the run game as Albert was able to. I don't think I have any concerns about how well Tunsil will be able to pass block, considering he was at one point considered to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft because of his pass blocking abilities. Now, the other interesting thing, this development, I actually had recorded this just last night, but I got some more information about Mike Pouncey, the center for the Dolphins. It looks like he'll be questionable to play this week. He had a hip injury earlier this season that kept him out for about the first month of the year. He was able to come back from that, but he pulled himself out of practice on Wednesday and was kept out of practice on Thursday because of his hip. It looks like it's acting up again, so we're not sure whether or not he will play this weekend, and that's going to be a huge key for this Miami Dolphins team. If he does play, I think they have a much better chance of winning this game, but if he doesn't, I really have my reservations as to whether or not a backup center is going to be able to have any success blocking Aaron Donald. I really think that if Pouncey's not playing, the run game for the Dolphins could take an enormous hit. I don't think Jay Ajayi is going to have a very good game if that happens, because I think Aaron Donald could honestly be in the backfield all game long, wrecking plays for this Rams defense. So I really think that the outcome of this game comes down to the availability of Mike Pouncey this weekend. This Dolphins team has been known in the past when they have offensive line struggles, which they usually do because they typically don't have their full offensive line healthy. When they do have a full healthy offensive line, they're actually 10-1 since Jawan James, Mike Pouncey, and Brandon Albert have all been on the team, started and finished a game together. They're 10-1 with that group, but they haven't done so well without them. So we'll see if we go back to the old Dolphins, the Dolphins where Tannehill's getting sacked constantly. They have to abandon the run early because they can't get any yards up the middle. That is very well possible if Pouncey doesn't play this game. So if he does play, I think that with several double teams between Bushrod and Pouncey, they should be able to move the ball on this Rams team that's giving up 103 rushing yards per game. But without them, I don't think the Dolphins will have enough offensive firepower to pull this one off. The interesting thing about the Dolphins, though, this last weekend when they played San Diego, it was a road game, and this is also a road game out in LA, and instead of flying back and forth all the way across the country, they decided to stay out in California for this entire week for this road trip. So this is going to be less of a feel of a away game for the Dolphins because they're not having all this travel and jet lag. They're actually staying out there for the whole week. So maybe that'll affect the Dolphins in a positive way where they're not going to have jet lag or any fatigue, and they'll feel rested and be accustomed to the LA weather and feel for the week. But if I had to make a prediction, I would say that this is going to be a low-scoring game either way. If Pouncey does play, I think the Dolphins will pull off a win, maybe 17-7. If Pouncey doesn't play, I think the Rams could end up winning this game, a low-scoring game, maybe like 10-7. But I don't think either of these teams are going to break 20 points on the game. And I really think the win's going to come down to if Pouncey plays or not. If you guys enjoyed this video, please press like. Feel free to subscribe. I'm Zambano, and I'm out.